Welcome to the Creature Cast, the official Console Creatures podcast. I'm your host today, Steve Vegvar, and as always, I'm joined by my good pal Bobby. How are you on this fine morning?
It's a Saturday morning, and I'm doing beautiful. I mean,
Is it?
outside of it's starting to get really cold. Like I'm good. I feel like I'm living my best life. What about you, man?
Yeah, no, I'm in the festive spirit now. We're
My
about
Christmas is up. Yeah, I know
yeah,
what you're talking.
we're about a month away from the big day, the big Christmas day. Getting ready for the holidays. I mean, I've got a big trip to Vegas coming up, and then I'm at the Game Awards in LA. That's going to be another big thing. So it feels like after this week coming up, it's all hands on deck just to get towards the holidays and then just take a well deserved break. But
Yeah, I think
yeah,
we need this. Yeah, I mean, whatever. I feel like the Game Awards is like the end cap to everything this year. So it's like I know, mixed reception about this week, but you know what? It's the perfect way to end it. I feel like it really is like the send off to 2025. Here's what we did this year.
yep.
Package it, send it.
Agreed. Yeah, yeah. We will talk about the Game Awards, some of the just some top level maybe predictions. Talk about some of the categories, some notable categories, some games that popped up over there. But before we get into all of that, Bobby, you spent a little bit of time with a game we've been covering for quite a while on the show. A game that we're both very excited for. It's Obsidian Entertainment's Avowed. I want to
Yeah.
hear all about it because you finally, after having members of the studio on our show for a couple times now, you've actually
Yeah.
went hands on with it. So I'm very curious to know how much you played. What did you see? How did it all feel? Give me the full rundown.
Yeah. So thanks to Xbox,
Hmm.
they invited me to do the preview this week. Unfortunately, it was just my schedule don't line up with theirs. So like, I just want to be clear. I didn't get the full preview like everyone else did, but I got
Yeah,
a couple of hours. So
that's
with
cool.
that said, I'm pretty like geared up for this game. I feel
Amazing.
after and let's just start with this. Like I did like the Outer Worlds. I thought it was good. But this just from the 2 hours I spent with this game, like it blows that out of the water. And more so I think it's the setting. Like I've always
Okay.
preferred, that medieval setting with, the fantasy elements rather, what they did with the Outer World. So with that in mind, I feel like Avowed is like the next coming of New Vegas. And I know
Cool.
that's a comparison because New Vegas is Fallout, but I mean it feels like it's got that grit to it, that pedigree that Obsidian's known for and what
Hmm.
we wanted from them in a follow up. So I mean, I know we're a couple months out, but like I'm itching to get to it. I know we have 3 months, but like I feel like right now, I do wish it was coming out now instead of next year because it is what I want to play right now.
For
After
sure.
all the huge games we played this year, Avowed feels like the one that I feel will just satisfy what I need right now.
Okay.
But
Yeah. Yeah.
if you've played the Pillars of the Eternity, it's in that world. I mean,
Yeah.
you can check back with our interviews with Carrie and Gabe from Obsidian, but the basis of this game is like we're obviously in the Living Lands, and we're dealing with the Dream Scourge, which is like this plague that's basically turning everything to just it's infecting everything.
Hmm.
So you start out with this game, the typical character creator. So you do your character creator, which is pretty cool. I
Yeah. Did
especially
you get a chance to play around with it?
I did my problem is I have choice paralysis. It's like, do I
Yeah.
want to do this? Do I want to do this? So I just did a quick one because I know, this is obviously a preview. I didn't want to spend time with it. But just what I browsed, it is, pretty versatile. Like you can really, really do 1-to-1. Like if you want to look like yourself, you could probably do that. That stuff is all great, but Steve? When you're playing an Obsidian game, what do you want more? Do you want more of the combat? Do you want more of the story? Because for me, I was really like concerned about the combat and
Oh, interesting. Okay.
the Outer World. I wasn't the biggest fan of it. I don't know if that you feel the same, but like I do feel like that Avowed has like a it's smoother. It's snappier.
Hmm.
Um, I would even go as far as to say it looks just like very synthetic in what you're doing, because like there is a lot of effects and like all these little things happening while you're fighting monsters, and like it
Yeah,
looks
particle effects and
yeah the
and
particle
really
effects.
cool
Well,
like magic effects coming.
it's all
Yeah,
the
it's
smoke
cool.
and mirrors you're getting. So like that
Yeah,
stuff is cool, but like you're dropped into this port town, and you're just told you have to do this and you have to venture out and blah blah blah. You know how it is in these games. You just kind of start, and then it tells you
yep.
kind of where you got to go. And in that hour I had with like just that freedom just to walk around, like I got lost in the town because one, the towns are stunning. They actually are pretty gorgeous. Like you feel like there's some thought behind these towns, and they kind of remind me of Skyrim's towns. I mean,
Nice.
if that's what you're looking for, you're probably gonna get that here. And it's just like it invigorates me in a sense where I'm like, well, I have this very unique, very special bond with Skyrim and what Bethesda
Mhm.
did with that game. And like I for even like a brief instance, I did feel that with that opening segment where it's like this really could be what I've always yearned for, because
Wow.
it's been like 12 years since that game came out, Skyrim, and I don't think there's anything that's been like that since.
Not
So
not not in the same way. I mean, like, there have been great, fantasy games, The Witcher, Baldur's Gate, stuff of
there
that,
there
but there
are,
hasn't been
yeah,
anything
but
like
like a
Skyrim.
spiritual successor. I
Yeah.
feel like this is it. And you know, granted, like I said, I only had a couple hours. I didn't really
Mhm.
want to get too far into it, but like the combat is where I kind of was like, well, if I only have 2 hours, I want to see what they're doing with it.
Mhm.
So you start off, you can buy some weapons in the town, which I bought just a basic sword, and you can buy pistols, you can buy tomes and stuff like that, so you can do magic instantly if you have like all the stats.
Yep.
And in this game, like it's a little bit different, where you have a couple of loadouts. You can do one or two, and then you can like fight, and you can swap between your loadouts. So if you have
Right.
like a sword and like a pistol, you could swap them, and then swap that with a tome where you can shoot out magic the other time. Like it's really cool. So like it feels like a combo based system, or if that's what I call it, but like there's versatility to where you can bounce between skills and spells, and it feels really just frenetic. Like I love that
Oh, that's
this
great.
is not what Obsidian. I don't know. I don't feel like I've seen this from Obsidian before.
Yeah, because I mean, going back to it, Outer Worlds, I like the combat for what it was because it did at the time feel a little more enhanced over, say,
Right.
Fallout, right? And that's what at that time what we were kind of justifiably comparing Obsidian to was, Outer Worlds, how does it compare to New Vegas or even Fallout 4 at the time? And it felt a little more frenetic. It felt a little more freeform and everything, but it did feel, albeit a little stiff in comparison to what a modern FPS game kind of felt like. But knowing that they were going to tackle, dual wielding, and now,
Yeah.
when we were talking to, Carrie and Gabe, that they were introducing, loadouts, so to speak, of like having an axe or
Yeah.
an axe in a tomb, or a sword, and then you can pull out a bow or something like that, like long range attacks and stuff like that. That's where I was like, okay, well, then they definitely have to be investing a lot more time into the versatility of the combat, because not everything can feel slow, and then still encourage you to swap out loadouts, swap out these different varying degrees of combat methods.
Yeah. And so like so you're fighting these monsters, and like and obviously in typical game fashion, you're damaging them, you're taking their health away. But what Obsidian's added is like this stamina meter. So as you're doing it, their stamina goes down, and as it fills up this meter, it basically stuns them. So it's like a stagger meter. If you play Final Fantasy, it's kind of that situation where you can stagger monsters and stun them
Mhm.
and finish them off like that. So I mean, that's a great option. And obviously, you can also do stealth if you want. Like, I know a lot of people love stealth, fully stealth. You don't really want to fight. You just kind of want to, backstab, fight from a distance, use poison, stuff like that. You can do that. Um, the other cool thing is, and I know that, I know other games of theirs have done it before. I can't remember Outer Wilds does it, but you have the choice to do first person or third person. The weird thing is in this game, as much as I prefer third person, it felt really unbalanced. It was hard
Okay.
to match up what was going on, because it does get like I was said, frenetic. It does get chaotic. It's hard to keep track of what's happening on screen sometimes. So it's like you could be fighting like 2 or 3 monsters, they could be attacking you, and for all you know, like the camera kind of pulls away, and it feels very janky.
Okay.
Is where I want to go, but like I know there's still some time for them to polish it up, so like I'm looking forward to it. In the meantime, the first person, it flows. It really is like very like natural feeling. You kind of swing your sword, you pull your bow, the coolest thing is just pulling the toma and like you just shoot like purple
Sick.
fireballs at the
I
thing.
love that. Yeah.
It is the coolest part. So like it really does feel like what I'm saying is like, it feels like a Skyrim. It really does, because these are all familiar things. Like we know what Skyrim's magic spells were like, what their weapons felt like when you swung them, and this is that. And yeah, there's like all the basic things, like you can do your blocks, you can dodge, you can do all the stuff like that. Like it's all there. All the fun things that we liked about, and I hate, and like I'm sorry guys, I hate keep comparing it to Skyrim.
I think it's
Those
appropriate
things are
though.
there. I know, but like that's the game. That game is the gold standard for this kind of
Sure.
open world thing, right? And like all those things that we loved about it are here. They feel a little bit better,
Hmm.
and for good reason, right? Obviously, I mean that game's like we said, a decade old. It's on a very archaic, janky system. Obsidian's done their homework. They know what kind of works well, what doesn't work, and they've really fine tuned it. So like it feels very finely tuned in that regard. Like you're playing game, it's smooth. It's
Yep.
very smooth, and like that's what I was worried about, because like in a lot of these games, it doesn't feel smooth. It's like
Sure.
you swing your sword, and there's kind of like a little delay, and then you try to block, and it's like it's slow. But this one, no, it's like you're doing these things, and it's instantaneous. Like you're doing like this, and it's like, yes, this is what I want. It's just like I can plan, I can do things. I don't have to worry about dodging, and then I missed it by a second just because the system couldn't keep up with what I was doing. But it's
Mhm.
cool. It
One of the things I want to ask about, and I know you only played like a small fraction
Yeah.
of what was ultimately available, but I'm just kind of wondering, did you get a sense of like the choices and their impact? Did you face any kind of narrative beats where you're like, I don't know what I should do here? Because that's again what I really love about Obsidian is the morally gray choices that can impact a game, and just kind of
Right.
going through all of that.
Yeah. So honestly, I think that's another thing I want to touch base on. I do feel like your choices will make a big difference in this game, and if that's hyperbolic just based on an hour, then I'm sorry, but like you can kind of tell like your decisions will influence whatever's going on around you in a way that I feel like very few games can do these days. It is on par with stuff like you can see in Baldur's Gate, I feel.
Yeah,
So if you're looking for that kind of freedom, yes, it's there. You can really, create your own story. It is your own book. It is what your story is going to be. It's not just our stories are alike. It's they share elements, but ultimately these are your choices. These are my choices. Here's what they're doing, and
sure.
let's compare notes. And like that is there. It is there. It's full on there. I
That's
wish I
great
had more time.
because
Yeah, because
I
that's another
mean,
thing.
we talked about it, a couple episodes ago, but me going through Dragon Age, which in my head should be kind of one of those games where I'm choosing and carving out my own story and everything. Still, even to this, I'm still, still at like chapter 10 or something. And I feel like the story is being told to me and I'm making very minor choices based on other characters and not myself. And that's kind of a letdown. So I'm hoping that I can kind of get that vibe from Avowed.
Yeah, I mean, there were things I feel like they were probably blocked off in the world. I mean, just because it was only a 2 hour prologue demo, so you obviously didn't get to do obviously a lot, but you get a sense of what this team wants to do, and it's there. I feel like all the building blocks that we're looking for are here. It's just like I said, a shame that we have to wait till February now instead of being out now.
Yeah,
But you know what? That extra time, I feel like there's a good opportunity to improve the things that I feel are missing. So like the third person camera could be addressed. I hope they address it. I didn't really have any glitches. I know these kind of games get, ahead of themselves. They're very bold in what they want to do. So I didn't notice anything like that. And you would expect that in like a preview demo, but it was overall like a pretty like polished piece of the game. So I
that's
I
good.
know it's not like the most disappointing thing in the world, because I come into these games expecting them, and I kind of take advantage of these if there's bugs or glitches, and like we all know, and like third time I'm going to do it today. Skyrim had the best glitches where I could literally take my horse and climb over a mountain.
Yeah. Yep.
So I'm always looking for stuff like that to break the game, but I didn't find anything like that here, and that's fine. But yeah, overall, like I was excited for Avowed, from day one. Like now I'm eager for it. Like I feel like I need a game like this because everything we don't get a lot of these games anymore. I feel like these open world first person games where it's just like an open massive, little bit of the world. Like there's a few games like Skyrim out these days. It's all like third person open world, and it's just like there's a distinct lack of these kind of games. These fantasy choose your own story kind of thing.
Yeah. No, I love that. I'm stoked for February. I'm still a little worried about that release window. I think that February is a jam-packed month, and I hope that given the fact that it's surrounded by games like Assassin's Creed and other pretty big games, I hope that people kind of give some attention to Avowed, because everything I'm seeing from this latest wave of previews, I'm like, this is one of my most anticipated games of 2025, and
that's what it feels like, right?
I hope it all pans out.
Yeah, like I honestly, if I could say one thing, just do this: put Avowed higher up on your list. Like if you're unsure about it, honestly, be sure about it. Like you've played Assassin's Creed. I'm sure Shadows will be great. You kind of know what Assassin's Creed is. Like you're gonna get that experience. You're probably gonna get a better version of it. Avowed it's a smaller game, but I feel like it's worth your time. The team is one of the best teams in the business. Like we have seen what they've put out over the past 15 years, and that alone should be like day one confirmation of what you're getting. So yeah, prioritize this game. I feel like Xbox has a big winner with this game. And yeah, despite that delay, honestly, I don't feel like it's going to hurt that much. People who want to play Avowed will play Avowed.
That's
people
true.
who are on the fence, these previews are going to be a big help to them to consider it closer to that launch. So I'm convinced it's a safe game. I feel like we're going to see this launch be a success for them.
I hope so. Yeah, because Obsidian, again, just never misses, in my opinion. I think everything they do is just a very high. They set a high bar of quality and success. So I hope it's another one.
Yeah. So like the quality, I feel like it is there. I mean, yeah, I'm stoked. I feel like I wish I had more time with it, but just that small sliver was just enough to just keep me interested till February. But yeah, ultimately, I'm excited. I feel like we're going to be talking about this game a lot when it comes out, and like I'm excited to see how our stories, differentiate, like where they split, where we see eye to eye, like what choices we make, and like if we follow the same people.
Absolutely, yeah. No, I'm stoked to kind of compare and contrast what our playthroughs are like, and then hear stuff from the community as well. That'll be a lot of fun. The other thing I wanted to talk about was the Game Awards, which is coming up very soon on December 12th. It'll be taking place in LA. I'll be there. I'll be on scene to hopefully see Hideo Kojima come back on the stage with another big celebrity. But yeah, Jeff Keighley, he put out all the nominations this past week. Some very divisive to some people for a couple of reasons, which we'll go over. But yeah, I didn't want to go through every single topic or anything, but I just kind of wanted to go through like high level. Were there any surprises in terms of nominees? And then obviously we'll talk about game of the year as well, because I think there's a lot to talk about there. But yeah, go ahead, Bobby, take it away.
Just to start, let's here's my thing. Let's Hideo's there every year. Let's predict what celebrity shows up with this year.
Ooh,
that's what I think we should start with, because like honestly, my dream is Pedro Pascal. I would love to see Hideo and Pedro work together.
Interesting. So
I know it won't work, but I mean that's my prediction. That's my hope, my dream.
I love that. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility at all. I think that if anyone could
If
land,
we get Keanu to play Shadow
right,
and Johnny Silverhand, we can get Pedro to do something in Death Stranding.
1000%. I am going a little bit of a more restrained prediction here, where I think that because the Game Awards will probably serve as like another point of marketing for Death Stranding 2, I'll simply say that he'll show up and have Norman Reedus with him on stage, maybe Troy Baker as well. But I think it will be a moderately safe one because he'll probably want to prioritize Death Stranding 2 on the beach rather than do any of like OD or Pheasant. What's the other game? Why do
I
I
don't
want to say
even.
Pheasant? It's oh my god, I gotta look it up now. This is gonna new game.
Let's look it up.
Yeah, he's got OD Fizzant. I knew I was close, not pheasant, but it was Fizzant. Yeah, I don't know if he's gonna be talking about any of those games that are past
Yeah, I don't feel
the
like there's
expected
anywhere
release.
close to it. I mean, yeah, no, it's. I feel like we're gonna see a Death Stranding 2 trailer,
Yeah.
and to counter your celebrities,
Hmm.
Conan. Bring
Oh my
Conan on.
god, yes.
Bring
Yeah.
Conan. We
Yep.
just saw Clueless Gamer return with
Yep.
Death Stranding. Bring
Bring him
Conan on
out.
stage with Hideo and just let them clown. Let Conan be Conan.
That's a great. Actually,
We
that's a great prediction. I'll say that that's almost higher to happen. Like, there's a higher percentage of that happening than what I said.
Yeah, I mean, like
That's
honestly,
that's a good one.
Conan feels like the instant like the win. Like he would win the awards for this year. Like Keanu was great. After watching Conan on Hot Ones, like honestly, I could
Oh,
see him do this. Like
iconic.
he would just be front page news for everybody.
Yep. Yeah. No, I
Yeah,
agree.
no, but yeah, I mean, yeah, I think that's it there. Let's start with the awards. Like honestly, I'm not. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about these awards because we got obviously a lot of the nominations that they were expected. Like we kind of knew what was there.
Hmm.
What was your most surprise? Let's start. What do you want to start with? Like I
Well,
would say
I mean, let's use Game of the Year as kind of a jumping off point, because
that's
I
what.
think that that's a really good metric for where a lot of these games are and what is really being positioned like very highly across the board here. So, Game of the Year this year is or nominees are Astrobot, Balatro, Black Myth, Wukong, Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erdtree, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and then Metaphor ReFantasio.
Mhm.
And of course, I think a couple of these caught people off guard
Yeah.
and began stirring, conversations and a little bit of discourse online and everything. What was your initial reaction to this list?
I mean, it makes sense. Most of it.
Okay.
The only one I don't agree with is, and I know many people who listen will agree, is Elden Ring does not deserve to be there.
Okay. Yeah, you're
And
on that
consider,
that side of the camp. Okay.
I mean, and like that, and I'm saying this as someone who loves Shadow of the Erdtree.
Hmm.
You need the base game to play it. It's not just something you can boot up by itself.
Correct. Yeah.
It's an expansion. It is more of the story. So putting that here, and yes, it is a big game. It is very meaty. It's a good chunk of what Elden Ring was, but ultimately, it's not anything new. It's just another thread of a story we already know, right? It's just it expands upon what we already knew from Elden Ring. So I don't feel it deserves to be on there. Balatro deserves 100% to be on there. I mean,
Hmm.
I haven't played a lot of it, but what I played, I mean, that plus the critical feedback, the commercial feedback, like everyone loves Balatro. So for what it is, like yes, it should be on there more so than Elden Ring. I feel.
Yeah.
Aside of that, I mean, Astrobot, yeah, Astrobot deserves to be on there. It is
Of
a
course.
very good game. It is
Yep.
honestly one of the best things I played this year. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, yes, ultimately, yes. I feel like it does do a lot of good things. It is really good, but the ending kind of ruined it for me. So yeah, it wasn't enough to convince me of that. But my pick, I feel I'm leaning towards Metaphor ReFantasio. I feel like that is
As in the winner.
as in the winner. I feel like it
Interesting.
is there. But I mean, I'm gonna replay a little bit of Rebirth before the end of the year just to see how it is on the Pro. But I'm stuck between those two games: FF7 Rebirth and Metaphor Fantasio. The rest, I feel like they're contenders, but I don't know if they're winners.
Yeah, yeah. I so to quickly jump back, I'm in the same boat as you in regards to Shadow of the Earth Tree being included. I mean, I love Elden Ring, love Shadow of the Earth Tree, but the fact that I was having a conversation with someone earlier this week about this, and I totally forgot that Shadow of the Earth Tree even came out this year. Like that's how quickly it came and went to my life, where I'd been anticipating it, played through it, put in another, I want to say 40 or 50 hours into
Yeah,
that game. And as soon as I stopped playing that game, it kind of just like whoop, gone. And
yeah,
because it felt ostensibly such like an expansion should, it just felt like another piece of the base game. It that's exactly what it did to my mind, where I was like, oh, I just played that right after playing the base game. Like it felt no different. It didn't feel as impactful as say Phantom Liberty did, where I came back to that game and I was like, oh shit,
yep.
this in
That
and
was
of
a really
itself
good
feels like
example.
a different game. This feels like this is what Cyberpunk should be.
Yeah,
Shadow of the Erd Tree was just more of a 10 out of 10 game, which to your point, yeah, you have to actually grind a whole bunch of the base game just to get into the Shadow of the Erd
yeah,
Tree content. It's not a standalone. It's not really that accessible
yeah,
unless you're playing
exactly.
through Elden Ring and stuff like that. So that's just a long-winded way of saying like I feel like this shouldn't be there. And
They're
if
changing the rules to fit their narrative this year, and I don't like that. And I
I
feel
don't
like
either. And the conspiratorial tinfoil hat in me says that this is just like a make good for everything that happened to From Software when they accepted Game of the Year.
yeah,
And they had the the Bill Clinton kid come up and everything. And I mean, we saw it plain as day that From Software gave Jeff Keighley no promotional material for Shadow of the Earth Tree. It withheld every trailer, every kind of promotional media. So again, I don't. It's such like deep state conspiracies here, just to be like, oh yeah, he swapped the rules just so Shadow of the Earth Tree had a buying chance to get into this, just so he could be like, hey guys, I'm sorry, blah blah blah. I don't. I know what it sounds like, and I don't know if that's to be inherently true, but it's still like an elephant in the room, and that's just the way I look at it, because I just don't understand why this is the year that you would really do it. If Phantom Pain, to me, felt like a much better representation, if you're going to
right.
bend the rules and everything, like
Phantom,
why not do it for
Phantom,
Phantom Pain or
Phantom, right?
Phantom Liberty? Sorry. Phantom Pain's way different, way different. Yeah, so that's just where my head goes. But yeah, I going through the list. I mean, all of these games, aside
They're
from Shadow
good.
of the Erdtree, I haven't played Black Myth Wukong, and
I
I
I started it.
okay,
Honestly, I bounced off it quickly. I mean, like I understand why people like it. But yeah, I don't think it's game of the year.
yeah. I have Metaphor ReFantasio on my Xbox. I do want to put in a little bit of time just to kind of get a sense of the game.
Yeah,
But I know it's just not for me. And the other, yeah, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, despite um, its issues running, like its performance issues, I still think it's a great game. In my humble opinion, as far as what will end up happening, I have a strong feeling that Astrobot's going to sweep many of these categories. It got nominated for quite a few, and then I ultimately think that Balatro is going to take Game of the
yeah.
Year. And it just feels to me that out of all of these games, Balatro is the only one that I've never played before, and I mean that like top to bottom, gameplay mechanics,
It's so unique. It
style,
is.
everything so unique. Every other one of these games I played before, quite literally with Final Fantasy and Elden Ring.
Yeah,
Quite literally, these are games that I have played before. Metaphor can be compared to Persona, Astrobot. I played Astro's Playroom. It's not saying that none of these games elevate the quality of whatever came before it, Balatro is just a brand new game. And if we're talking about game of the year and games that really, I mean, the description right here recognizes a game that delivers the absolute best experience across all creative and technical fields. In my opinion, that's Balatro, because it's quite creative and it's quite technical in its use of like the poker
Yeah.
gameplay systems and being a roguelite. Not to take away from any of the other games,
No,
but
100%. But it's the most unique game out of everything there. And
yeah,
that's what it comes down to.
and in an era of the gaming industry where so many studios and big publishers are not
Everything.
willing to take a risk, one
Yep.
person was
Yep.
like, "I'm just gonna make a game," and it became a critical and commercial
It
success.
was yeah, and it was in the zeitgeist for a long time. I feel like I've seen Balatro everywhere.
Yeah. I mean,
So
the game got so much notoriety that
yeah,
CD Projekt Red, Dave the Diver, all these other vampire survivors have done crossovers with the game. Like
yeah,
you can play Dave the Diver and play Balatro in Dave the Diver. Like
yeah,
that to me is just crazy. And I mean, of course, we're going to be biased because Local Thunk is a Canadian developer, and I'm going to champion a Canadian developer any day of the
100%.
week. But it just astounds me that one person can come out and be like, "No, we just changed the game." And
Yep.
my favorite thing, and I've had this, and I mean, I've been championing Balatro all year. I've been like, people need to play this. My favorite thing right now is feeling so justified and people being like, "How is this game of the year?" And then
Yep.
quickly they're like, "Ah, shit, I played Balatro and I totally get it now." And I'm like, "Yes, this is what I've been saying for months at
Yep.
this point. That this game is addictive. It's satisfying. It's engaging." I even had like, I'm not going to name names, but someone within very close within like the respective industry and everything was like, "There's no way this game can be nominated for game of the year." I was like, "Absolutely, it can be." I played over 100 hours, and within 15 minutes, they went out and bought it, and that to me is a win. That to me is a win that I'm able to convince people to go out and try this game, because I think that it's worth every penny.
Mhm. And like honestly, you don't even need to spend money on it. Like it is free if you have Netflix. It is free if I feel like it's free on a couple of services, but like
Oh,
I
you can
mean,
get through Apple Arcade as
sorry,
well.
Apple Arcade, yeah, sorry, that's the one. I have it on my phone.
Mhm.
It's I can play Boucher anywhere I want. It's addictive. I can literally for $5 a month. I can play it.
I mean, the big game changer right now is I have it on the Xbox, and now that they have cloud streaming for
Yeah,
games that you own, now I have it twice on my phone. And now, like,
I
because
have
they
yeah,
don't have crossplay, I'm like, perfect. Just bring over my saves that I'm playing on Xbox,
yeah,
and I'll
exactly.
continue there.
Yeah, so like I have it on my Steam Deck, so I have it always there to play.
Yep.
I'm gonna spend more time with it. I feel like I owe it to them. I spent about 10 hours with it, and then
Yeah.
you know how it is this year. There's just so much to play,
Oh
and
yeah.
it's like, but I want to give it a fair shot, spend more time with it. I know that I owe it to the developers. I'm cheering for them. If 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 FF7 doesn't win, like or Metaphor, I want Balatro. Like it's those three. The game. It's one of those three I would be okay with.
Hmm.
Everything
Yeah.
else just doesn't seem right to me. As
No.
good as those games are,
I agree. I think Astrobot deserves a lot of awards, a lot of acclaim, just not this specific category. I think it's a great game. Love it to death. It's wholesome. It's wonderful. It's one of the best 3D platformers out there. But game of the year, it just doesn't sit right with me, because aside from just including a whole bunch of great characters in from a fundamental gameplay level, it doesn't really do anything that Astro's Playroom didn't already do, in my
it did.
opinion.
It just made everything. They just jacked up everything to 10.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I feel like we knew games like that, but I mean, like we said, it's something we've all played before.
Yeah.
So that's what it comes down to. So yeah, ultimately, if it's a just game of the year, it's going to be one of those three games we discussed that I feel like everything else just kind of doesn't feel right. And I mean, I'll leave it to Jeff to decide, what everyone votes for, like all these people, all these judges. But I'll wait for the Dice Awards for the real awards. Then and the day, right? Whatever happens,
That's it. Yeah.
I'm there for Dice.
Game Awards is just a fun little MTV award like
That's exactly what it
substitute.
is.
That's what it is.
And that's what I don't understand. Like everyone gets frustrated with Jeff and all this. And do people not watch the MTV Movie Awards? Like it's not performance is just most popular and blah blah blah. That's
Yep.
fine.
That's
There's
all it
nothing
is.
wrong with it. It's
No.
popcorn. It's a popcorn thing. Like you sit there, eat popcorn, and you watch it for a couple hours.
That's
If I
exactly
want
it,
to,
and
I want
it's even more that when you're there
and the
when you're
BAFTAs.
there sitting there,
Yeah.
when you're sitting there in the Peacock Theater watching it, you're like, "Oh, this thing is just," and I don't wanna say a
This
farce,
is a
but in
real.
compared to, like, what the Oscars should be, yeah, it kind of feels like a farce where you're seeing Muppets being set up
Yeah,
on
like
one side of the
yeah,
stage, and then you have, a 10-minute Hideo Kojima trailer, and then you have, like,
yeah. It's
a
not
sizzle
the
reel of
Oscar,
all these other trailers.
and
No,
like,
it's not the Oscars.
I don't understand, like, and that's where I agree with a lot of people online saying Jeff needs to do better. No, Jeff doesn't need to do better. Jeff
No.
knows what people want to watch. This is what people want to watch. It's just trailers, excuse me, celebrity appearances, and just
Yep.
like the most popular games. And like, there's nothing wrong with that. There are other award shows like the Indie Game Awards who focus on smaller outlets, smaller indie places, smaller wins. Like this is just a game to this is a game show award to celebrate the biggest games of the year, and like, I'm totally on board with it. It's not that serious. It doesn't need to be. We
No,
have so
that's it.
many, just like video games. There's so many award shows this year you could watch that will give you what you want, and I don't get it.
Yeah. If you want the Oscars equivalent, go watch the DICE Awards later
Go
in
watch the Disney Awards.
2025. Yeah, that's all you
If
need.
you want to watch the Indie Awards, there's one literally a couple days after. You can see
right.
all the biggest games that indie studios made win. So go do that. Just stop pointing your finger at Jeff. Like I just don't understand what
Yeah.
he's not doing wrong. Like I understand like he could be doing things a little bit better, but like
Well, yeah, the wrap it up thing was pretty it's pretty damning, but,
yeah. So like there's
I think that the framing of what the Game Awards is as a whole of, like, we're doing trailers, we're doing celebrity appearances, we're handing out awards. I like that framework because it is, what we're saying, but there are still things that he can work on and improve, but
like
to your point, every year he's breaking records in viewership, so it's still working.
it's working, and that's what it comes down to. Like honestly, and I'm someone who always preferred watching the Oscars to the MTV Awards, but like we all know, the MTV stuff is where all the fun stuff happens. You don't go to the Oscars to see a Muppet show up. You go to the MTV Movie Awards.
Exactly.
You go to MTV to watch Jack Black dress up as Spider-Man. Remember, like, you remember those days? Like that's what I want. I want
Yep.
stuff. I don't need to be serious all the time. Like awards are not meant to be serious. Like I don't understand why everything needs to be prestige. There's avenues for everybody. So just to get off topic. I'm sorry. I know we're getting off topic.
No.
But it comes down to like I just feel like everyone's too serious these days about these things, and it doesn't need to be. It's a fun couple hours where you can just turn your brain off and just see what the bigger industry feels like. What this is what they're discussing.
Yep, I agree. Before we start wrapping up, I just want to ask: were there any glaring omissions? Did you feel? Did anyone get the short end of the stick? Because there's one for me that I was like, oh, interesting.
So there's a couple for me. So the first one, and probably the most glaring for me, is best performance. Cody Christian from Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Cloud's voice actor. He's not in there. He was a highlight. Like he honestly, like he did so much for that character. I'm surprised. And to that point, like he just won the Golden Joystick for best performance for best performance of Cloud. So it's like not seeing him there, where Brianna White is. Like I love her, but Cloud's not there. Like Cody Christian's not there, which is weird to me. That's the big one. And then I gotta find the other one. But yeah, go ahead. What's your next glaring omission?
Well, I mean, we were talking about games that may or may not be Game of the Year contenders in our eyes and stuff like that. I'm shocked that whether it's Black Myth Wukong or even Shadow of the Erdtree, that Helldivers didn't get in there. Because for as much of the zeitgeist, because from as much of the zeitgeist it had for 3 months, 4 months, I'm shocked that
It
it,
was
it
huge.
didn't make its way in there
Yep, I can see that. But at the same time, like honestly, when it fell off, it fell off. Like it was just like
overnight.
massive, just like this massive hit, and then gone. And it's
Yeah.
like
No,
they
that
could.
that is true.
So I feel that's probably what it was. It disappeared like in a snap, and that's kind of where I feel like it probably was considered.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I honestly I want to revisit Helldivers 2. I do like it. We had a lot of fun with it together.
Mhm.
It's just once we got our fill of it, it was just like, well, I'm good. Don't know what else there is to do. Like it's all the same.
I mean, it wasn't even gotten my fill out of it. It was that other games began coming out. It was like Rise of the Ronin into Stellar Blade into I think even Final Fantasy was in that same window as well. I'm trying to go back to it, but I was like, I'm just jumping from one PlayStation game to the next at such a rapid clip. I can't keep up with this games that's a service title.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the other one is I'm just surprised Rise of the Ronin didn't get anything because I really like Rise of the Ronin.
So did I.
And like I would have liked to see it as the best action game. Didn't get that, which is weird.
No.
And as much as I like Call of Duty there, I mean, is it really the best action game? I don't feel like
I think it is. I honestly, I
it's a
think
good campaign. It's a great campaign. Like I feel like it's one of their best, but like I would maybe what I would have done is swap out Space Marine 2 for Rise of the Ronin.
I probably would agree, though I'm not a Warhammer guy, so I think that's just an easy omission for me. Just drop that one.
I tried it. It's good. It's a good game, but like Rise of Ronin was just this huge game, and it offered a lot, and
Yeah.
it was really good for what it was. So I mean, that's probably my other omission is just no Rise of the Ronin.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. Although aside from maybe best action game, I don't know really where it would fit because I'm just going through all the categories here. I'm like, as much as I liked it, I really liked Rise of the Ronin, but it's definitely not, getting best narrative or best game direction and stuff like that. So
it would make sense for best action game because it's just so big,
Yeah.
and you have all this versatility to it. Like you have like all these weapons, and you have like
totally.
you can fly around, and it's just like there's a lot to it. So yeah, that's my other omission, but it's just those two. And overall, like I'm looking forward to it. I could probably do without any of the esports stuff. I don't really care for that.
I mean, it's a good thing because Jeff will just rattle them off 30 minutes before the show.
I know. It's just like honestly, they feel like it always felt like an afterthought, and it's like, well, why are they there in the first place? Like honestly,
I appreciate that they're there. I would rather a little more precedence put onto them, only because if you're going to have them, at least make them feel a little more important than they already are. Don't make it feel kind of like what you're saying, like an afterthought, or just because Jeff feels like he has to have it there, that he's like, okay, well, I'll include it, but then just in between these two scissor reels for indie games in the pre-show, I'll just list off like five awards and then not really talk about esports at all.
Yeah, but yeah, other than that, like I feel like these are pretty decent awards this year. I mean, everything kind of makes sense. Other than that.
The thing I kind of like about this year, as opposed to a couple of years prior, is that there's not one leading front runner. I mean, Astrobot kind of fits into that. I feel like a lot of people will just jump to Astrobot being, the critical darling of the year and everything, but it doesn't feel to the same extent as like Baldur's Gate, where everyone's like that. Baldur's Gate is sweeping, taking it away, and then or even now it's in my head now. It's not the last Zelda game, not Echoes, but
Tears of the Kingdom.
Tears of the Kingdom. Thank you. Yeah, where everyone was like, "Oh, that one's gonna sweep," or it's gonna be Baldur's Gate. It doesn't really feel like we have that front runner this year, aside from maybe Astro, in my opinion.
No, and like that's fine. Like honestly,
I like it. Yeah, I like a little bit of a surprise.
This year's way more rounded, I feel.
Yep, and I think that we're due for an indie game to really steal the show in a little bit of a way.
So
kind of like It Takes Two. It kind of feels like an It Takes Two kind of year.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah, you know what? I feel like that's the way to say it. Is an indie should win it this year. I know we all have our preferences, but I mean, ultimately, I think it would be good for the industry if an indie game just one game of the year right now.
It would, because if Final Fantasy comes out swinging square, we'll still say, you know what, it underperformed. So who cares if it wins? Square's not going to be like, wow, okay, you guys convinced us that it's we really knocked it out of the park.
That's just such a kick in the gonads for a lot of people who make these games. But ultimately, like I feel like with this new president at Square, like I hope he understands that sectioning off your game to just PlayStation, in theory, good idea. I mean, they're the ones who turned you into such a powerful publisher. But in 2024, you need to put your game on every platform to get your money back because games are very expensive. And I feel like they didn't realize that until 6 months ago. So like honestly, Square, put your games on everything. Like if you can put your game on a calculator, you find the port to do it because you got to pay for your bills.
Exactly, especially if you're talking about Foam Stars. That game should have been everywhere.
That's game of the year for a lot of
people. That game should have been on Xbox 360 just to help his player base just a wee bit more.
It blows my mind that I know. You know what, Square, going forward, just do the right thing. Just give your game day one to everybody because there is a base on Xbox. I know people are saying like it's not true, but like the sales kind of tell me like you would have had a lot of extra support if you had this game in February.
Especially for like
PC
FF7, remake or rebirth. People would come out in droves on Xbox for that game.
Yeah, or even PC. Like PC,
like
I know it's coming out 6 months later, and I feel like we're probably going to get the PC announcement in December, but that exclusive window, just cut it in half. Like go from a year to 6 months, and then just put it out at this point because you have there's obviously contracts, but
of course,
just put it out day and date.
Yeah,
and if you can't do a 6 month run, don't give it a year. Like a year is too much time. Like in the industry, a year is comparable to 5 years in real time. Like you miss a lot.
Agreed. Yeah. All right. Well, that about wraps up this week's episode. We're looking forward to the road ahead of the Game Awards. Going to be exciting to see who wins, who gets snubbed, and what announcements end up coming out of the show. But up until then, Bobby, where can people keep up with you online?
You can find me at Bluesky at bpashalides. You can find me Twitter, Facebook, everywhere, anywhere you want. And then you can find the website at consolecreatures.com. We're focusing on Bluesky, so find us at consolecreatures.com on Bluesky.
Heck yeah.
And Spotify.
Amazing. Yes. Yeah. Follow us on all platforms, and then you can find me across the internet at sfikvari. And we'll be back next week with another more exciting episode talking about more games and what we've been playing. But until then, we appreciate you for tuning in. See ya. Bye.
Bye.